Okay, I am going to step into Jewish mysticism. So, this book is called the Bahir. It means basically the illumination. So the Zohar, it's another type of word for illumination or radiance. So Bahir. This is actually one of the oldest Jewish mystical books that there is. So it is written, hopefully you can see this, by Rabbi Nehunia ben HaKanah. It is assumed to be written by him. He's the first sage in this book, and then he's not mentioned throughout the rest of the book. There's another sage, there's another name that they believe, by tradition it's believed that is him, Rabbi Amorai. But basically, if you know the RAMBAN, Rabbi Moshe ben Nachman, who's noted for the disputations in Spain. He debated the Christians. He was forced to debate the Christians. He has a commentary. It's actually called a super commentary because he doesn't necessarily comment on the Torah specifically. He comments on other commentators like Rashi and Ibn Ezra. And anything in his commentary that is of Jewish mysticism, he's more or less quoting the Bahir. So this was a very old text. It was around. I'm not going to say that I am an expert here, but what I will say is, so it's not a very long book, even though this book is a couple hundred pages. I think it's like 83 pages in this book. So one side, right? If you're going to get this book, I recommend you get the R.E.A. Kaplan version of this. He's an Orthodox rabbi that lived a couple decades ago. He passed away. He's very knowledgeable on these types of things, and this specific copy right here has not only the Hebrew text of the Bahir in the back. He also has let's just say that this is it's divided into, we might call them verses or something like that, but I think that they would probably be called simanim. So each verse has a particular paragraph explanation commentary on it that he has. And then on top of that, he also has a second section for notes on the text and also notes on the commentary. So it is very well put together. It's all separate though. They don't have that all combined in the same thing. So he has the Bahir translated. He has the Bahir, in Hebrew in the back. He has the commentary on the Bahir, and then he has the notes on the Bahir and notes on the commentary. And also, it's also worth reading the introduction of this book to get a good understanding of it. But I would like to start reading this. I know that there's someone in the community that would probably gain a lot from this because their rabbi likes to teach from the Ramban. And again, I said that the Ramban, he quotes the Bahir quite frequently. So I think it would be interesting to just have this out there and then potentially over time to start developing it and digging more into the commentary. And it probably wouldn't be a bad idea to have a local study group if there's more people that want to get involved. But in the meantime, there are potentially some terms that I might have to stop and discuss with you. But I'll jump into this. So, the Bahir, Rabbi Nehunia ben HaKanah, and so these sages are they're Tanaim, so they're from the Mishnah. They're very you might consider high level sages, Gadol Hador. So I'll start here. Rabbi Nehunia ben HaKanah said, one verse. So Job 37:21, it states, "And now they do not see light; it is brilliant, Bahir, in the skies, round about God in terrible majesty." Another verse, however, Psalms 18:12 states, "He made darkness his hiding place; It is also written in Psalms 97:2, cloud and gloom surround him. This is an apparent contradiction. The third verse comes and reconciles the two. It is written in Psalm 139, verse 12. It says, even darkness is not dark to you. Night shines like day. Light and darkness are the same. Rabbi Barachia said, it is written in Genesis 1:2. It says, the earth was chaos and desolation. So tohu vabohu. What is the meaning of the verse was in this verse? What is the meaning of the word was in this verse? This indicates that the chaos existed previously and already was. What is chaos or tohu? Something that confounds, taha, confounds people. What is desolation, bohu? It is something that has substance. It is the reason that it is called bohu, that is bohu, it is in it. Why does the Torah begin with the letter beit? In order that it begin with a blessing, baracha. How do we know that the Torah is called a blessing? Because it is written in Deuteronomy 33, verse 23, it says, the filling is God's blessing, possessing the sea in the south. The sea is nothing other than the Torah, as it is written in Job 11:9, it says, it is wider than the sea. What is the meaning of the verse? The filling is God's blessing. This means that wherever we find the letter beit, it indicates a blessing. It is thus written in Genesis 1:1. It says, in the beginning, Bereshit, God created the heaven and the earth. So Bereshit is Bet Reshit. The word beginning, Reshit, is nothing other than wisdom. It is thus written in Psalm 111, verse 10. It says, the beginning is wisdom, the fear of God. So Reshit, Chochma, Yirat Hashem. Wisdom is a blessing. It is thus written, and God blessed Solomon. It is furthermore written in 1 Kings 5:26, and God gave wisdom to Solomon. This resembles a king who marries his daughter to his son. He gives her to him at the wedding and says to him, do with her as you desire. How do we know that the word baracha, usually translated as blessing, comes from the word baruch, meaning blessed? Perhaps it comes from the word barak, meaning knee. It is written in Isaiah 44:23, for to me every knee bend. Baracha can therefore mean the place to which every knee bends. What example does this resemble? People want to see the king, but do not know where to find his house, his bait. First they ask, where is the king's house? Only then can they ask, where is the king? It is thus written, for to me shall every knee bend, even the highest, every tongue shall swear. That's the highest angel. Every highest creature and being in the universe will bend a knee and vow allegiance with their tongue. Rabbi Nehunia sat and expounded. What is the meaning of the verse in Deuteronomy 33:23? It says, the filling is God's blessing, possessing the sea in the south. This means that wherever we find the letter beit, it is blessed. This is the filling referred to in the verse. The filling is God's blessing. From there, it nourishes those who need it. It was from this filling that God sought advice. What example does this resemble? A king wanted to build his palace among great cliffs. He mined into the bedrock and uncovered a great spring of living water. The king then said, since I have flowing water, I will plant a garden. Then I will delight in it, and so will all the world. It is therefore written in Proverbs 8 verse 30. I was with him as a craftsman. I was his delight for a day frolicking before him at every time. The Torah is saying, for 2,000 years I was in the bosom of the blessed Holy One as his delight. The verse therefore says, a day. Each day of the blessed Holy One is 1,000 years, as it is written. So Psalms 90 verse 4, it says, 1,000 years in your eyes is as but yesterday when it is past. From then on, it is at times, as the verse states, frolicking before him at every time. The rest is for the world. It is thus written in Isaiah 48 verse 9. It says, I will breathe out my praise through my nose for you. What is the meaning of my praise? As it is written in Psalm 145 verse 2, it says, a psalm of David. I will raise you high, my God, O King, and I will bless your name for the world and forever. Why is this a praise? Because I will raise you high. And what is this elevation? Because I will bless your name for the world and forever. What is a blessing? It can be explained with an example. A king planted trees in his garden. It may rain and water them, and the ground may be wet and provide them with moisture, but still he must water them from the spring. It is thus written in Psalms 111 verse 10. It says, the beginning of wisdom is the fear of God, good intelligence to all who do them. His praise endures forever. Whom you may think that it lacks something. It is therefore written, his praise endures forever. Rabbi Amorai sat and expounded. So they say that Rabbi Amorai is Rabbi Nehunia ben HaKanah. What is the meaning of the verse? He says, Deuteronomy 33, verse 23. It says, the filling is God's blessing, possessing the sea and the south. Moses was saying, if you follow my decrees, you will inherit both this world and the next. The world to come is likened to the sea, as it is written in Job 11, verse 9. It says, it is wider than the sea. The present world is referred to as the south. It is thus written in Joshua 15, verse 19, give me a blessing, for you have set me in the land of the south. Therefore give me springs of water. The Targum translates this, behold, the earth is the south. Why did God add the letter He to Abraham's name rather than any other letter? It was so Abraham's name was Avram, and Hashem added a He to it, so it became Avraham. So why did God add the letter He to Avraham's name rather than any other letter? This was so that all parts of man's body should be worthy of life in the world to come, which is likened to the sea. To the extent that we can express it, the scripture was completed in Avraham. Regarding this scripture, it is written in Genesis 9:6, it says, for in the form of God he made the man. The numerical value of Avraham is 248, the number of parts in man's body. So what is the meaning of Deuteronomy 33:23? It says, the filling is God's blessing, the sea and the south. He shall inherit it. Yerashah. It would have been sufficient if the verse said, inherit, Rash, the sea and the south. But this comes to teach us that God must also be included. The word Yerashah thus contains the letters Rash and Yah, meaning inherit God. What does this resemble? A king had 2 treasuries, and he hid one away. After many days he said to his son, take what is in these 2 treasuries. The son replied, perhaps you are not giving me all that you have hidden away. The king said, take everything. It is thus written, the sea and the south. He shall inherit it. Inherit God. Yerashah, or Yarash. Everything will be given to you if you only keep my ways. Rabbi Boone said, what is the meaning of the verse Proverbs 8:23? It says, I was set up from eternity, me'olam, from a head before the earth. What is the meaning of from eternity, me'olam? This means that it must be concealed, he'elam, from the world. It is thus written in Ecclesiastes 3:11. It says, he has also placed the world, ha'olam, in their hearts, that they should not find out the work that God has done from the beginning to the end. Do not read ha'olam, the world, but he'elam, concealment. So it's just vowed differently. Concealment. The Torah said, I was first so that I might be the head of the world. It is thus written, I was set up from eternity, from a head. You may think that the earth was before it. It is therefore written, before the earth. It is thus written in Genesis 1:1. It says, in the beginning created God the heaven and the earth. What is the meaning of created? He created everything that was needed for all things. And then God, only after it is written, the heaven and the earth. What is the meaning of the verse in Ecclesiastes 7:14? It says, also one opposite the other was made by God. He created desolation, bohu, and placed it in peace. And he created chaos, tohu, and placed it in evil. Desolation is in peace, as it is written in Job 25:2. He says, he makes peace in his high places. This teaches us that Michael, the prince to God's right, is water and hail, while Gabriel, the prince to God's left, is fire. The two are reconciled by the Prince of Peace. This is the meaning of the verse, he makes peace in his high places. How do we know that chaos is in evil? It is written in Isaiah 45:7. He says, he makes peace and creates evil. How does this come out? Evil is from chaos, while peace is from desolation. He thus created chaos and placed it in evil. As it is written, he makes peace and creates evil. He creates desolation and places it in peace. As it is written, he makes peace in his high places. Rabbi Boone also sat and expounded, what is the meaning of the verse in Isaiah 45, verse 7? It says, he forms light and creates darkness. Light was substance. Therefore, the term formation is used with regard to it. Darkness has no substance. Therefore, with regard to it, the term creation is used. It is similarly written in Amos 4:12. It says, he forms mountains and creates the wind. Another explanation is this. Light was actually brought into existence as it is written in Genesis 1:3. It says, God said, let there be light. Something cannot be brought into existence unless it is made. The term formation is therefore used. In the case of darkness, however, there was no making, only separation and setting aside. For it is for this reason that the term created, or bara, is used. It has the same sense as in the expression, that person became well. He bria. Why is the letter beit closed on all sides and open in the front? So it's closed and then open on the direction that we call the front. This teaches us that it is the house, the bait of the world. God is the place of the world, and the world is not his place. Do not read bet, but bait, house. It is thus written in Proverbs 24, verse 3. It says, with wisdom the house is built, with understanding it is established, and with knowledge are its chambers filled. Now we're getting into some deep mysticism here, so it will get thick. What does the bait resemble? It is like a man formed by God with wisdom. It is closed on all sides, but open in front. The olive, however, is open from behind. This teaches us that the tail of the bait is open from behind. If not for this, man could not exist. Likewise, if not for the bait on the tail of the olive, the world could not exist. So we see here, this is an olive, and it's almost like there's a bait inside of it, and that's what they're referring to there. We'll get into the commentary in a future lecture at some point, but we'll just kind of cover this. Rabbi Nehunia said, illumination preceded the world, since it is written in Psalms 97, verse 2. It says, cloud and gloom surround him. It is thus written, Genesis 1:3. It says, God said, let there be light, and there was light. And he said to him, before the creation of Israel your son, will you then make him a crown? He replied, yes. What does this resemble? A king yearned for a son. One day he found a beautiful precious crown, and he said, this is fitting for my son's head. And they said to him, you are then certain that your son will be worthy of this crown? He replied, be still. This is what arises in thought. It is thus written in 2 Samuel 14:14. It says, he thinks thoughts that none should be cast away. So he thinks thoughts. Rabbi Amorai sat and expounded, what is the letter Aleph at the beginning? Because it was before everything, even the Torah. Why does bait follow it? Because it was first. Why does it have a tail? To point to the place from which it came. Some say, from there the world is sustained. Why is Gimel third in the alphabet, right? It has 3 parts, teaching us that it bestows Gomel, kindness. So a Gimel, it kind of goes like this, down, and then it has almost like a foot at the bottom. So like 3 parts. So, but did Rabbi Akiva not say that Gimel has 3 parts because it bestows, grows, and sustains? It is thus written in Genesis 21, verse 8. It says, the lad grew and was bestowed. And he says the same as I do. He grew and bestowed kindness to his neighbors and to those entrusted to him. And why is there a tail at the bottom of the Gimel? He said, the Gimel has a head on top and is like a pipe. Just like a pipe, the Gimel draws from above through its head and disperses through its tail. This is the Gimel. Rabbi Yochanan said, the angels were created on the 2nd day. It is therefore written in Psalms 104, verse 3. It says, he rafters his upper chambers with water. He makes the clouds his chariot. He walks on the wings of the wind. It is thus written in Psalm 104, verse 4. It says, he makes the winds his angels, his messengers from flaming fire. So Rabbi Hanina said, the angels were created on the 5th day, as it is written in Genesis 1:20. It says, and flying things shall fly upon the firmament of heaven. Regarding the angels, it is written in Isaiah 6:2. It says, with 2 wings did they fly. Actually, in Isaiah 6:2, the angels were described with 6 wings, 2 to cover the face, the feet, and with 2 they fly. Rabbi Levatas ben Tavrus said, all agree, even Rabbi Yochanan, that the water already existed on the 1st day. But it was on the 2nd day that he raftered his upper chambers with water. At that time he also created the one who makes the clouds, makes the clouds his chariot, and the one who, quote, makes the wings his wind. But his messengers were not created until the 5th day. All agree that none were created on the 1st day. It should therefore not be said that Michael drew out the heaven at the south. Gabriel drew it out at the north, while God arranged things in the middle. It is thus written in Isaiah 44, verse 24, I am God, I make all, I stretch out the heavens alone, the earth is spread out before me. Even though we read the verse from me, me iti, it can also be read me iti, who was with me. I am the one who planted this tree in order that all the world should delight in it, and in it I spread all. I called it all because all depend on it, all emanate from it, and all need it. To it they look, for it they wait. From it souls fly in joy. Alone was I when I made it. No angel rise above it, and I say, this is quote, I was before you. I was also alone when I spread out my earth, in which I planted and rooted this tree. I made them rejoice together, and I rejoiced in them. Quote, who was with me? To whom have I revealed this mystery? Rabbi Nehunia said, from your words, we could conclude that the needs of this world were created before the heavens. He answered, yes. What does this resemble? A king wanted to plant a tree in his garden. He searched the entire garden to find a spring flowing with water that would nourish the tree, but could not find any. He then said, I will dig for water, and I will bring forth a spring to nourish the tree. He dug and opened a well, flowing with living water. He then planted the tree, and it stood, giving forth fruit. It was successfully rooted, since it was always watered from the well. Rabbi Nehunia said, the earth was created first, as it is written in Genesis 2:4. It says, on the day that God made earth and heaven. They said to him, is it not written in Genesis 1:1? It says, in the beginning God created the heaven and the earth. He replied, what is this like? A king bought a beautiful object, but since it was not complete, he did not give it a name. He said, I will complete it. I will prepare its pedestal and attachment, and I will give it a name. It is thus written in Psalm 102, verse 26. It says, from eternity you founded the earth, and then the heavens are the work of your hands. It is furthermore written in Psalm 104, verse 2. He says, he covered himself with light like a garment. He spread out the heaven like a curtain. He rafters his upper chambers with water. It is then written in Psalm 104, verse 4. It says, quote, he makes the winds his angels, his ministers of flaming fire. Finally, it is written in Psalm 104, verse 5. It says, he founded the earth on its pedestal, that it not be removed from the world forever. When he made its pedestal, he strengthened it. It is therefore written, quote, that it not be moved. What is its name? Quote, and forever. Voed is its name. And the name of its pedestal is Olam, or world. It is therefore written, for the world and forever. Rabbi Barachia said, what is the meaning of the verse in Genesis 1:3? It says, and God said, let there be light, and there was light. Why does the verse not say, it was so? What is this like? A king had a beautiful object. He put it away until he had a place for it, and then he put it there. It is therefore written, let there be light, and there was light. This indicates that it already existed. Rabbi Moshe said, what is the meaning of the verse in Exodus 15, verse 3? It says, God is a man of war. Ish milchama, right? Ish. Mar Rahumai said to him, great master, do not ask about something that is so simple. Listen to me, and I will advise you. And he said to him, what is this like? A king had a number of beautiful dwellings, and gave each one a name. One was better than the other. He said, I will give my son this dwelling, whose name is Aleph. This one, whose name is Yud, is also good, as is this one, whose name is Shin. What did he do then? He gathered all three together, and out of them made a single name and a single house. So Aleph, Yud, Shin means Ish. For Ish, or a man of war, right? He said, how long will you continue to conceal your meaning? The other replied, my son, Aleph is the head, Yud is the second to it, Shin includes all the world. Why does Shin include all the world? Because with it, one writes an answer, Teshuvah. The students asked him, what is the letter Dalet? He replied, what is this like? 10 kings were in a certain place. All of them were wealthy, but one was not quite as wealthy as the others. Even though he is still very wealthy, he is poor, Dal, in relation to the others. They said to him, what is the letter He? He grew angry and said, did I not teach you not to ask about a latter thing and then about an earlier thing? They said, but He comes after Dalet. He replied, the order should be Gimel He. Why is it Gimel Dalet? Because it must be Dalet He. And why is the order Gimel Dalet? He said to them, Gimel is in the place of Dalet. On its head, it is in the place of hay. Dalet with its tail is in place of the hay. So if we look at this, so Gimel, Dalet, hay. This is a certain type of scribal feature that's here. So we don't normally see the Dalet like that, but they're showing you Gimel, Dalet, hay. So you can see the transition of those letters. Okay. It says, what is the letter Vav? He said, there is an upper hay and a lower hay. And they said to him, but what is Vav? He said, the world was sealed with 6 directions. Because Vav has the numerical value of 6, or it's in the 6th place in the alphabet. They said, is not Vav a single letter? He replied, it is written in Psalm 104, verse 2. He says, he wraps himself in light as a garment. He spreads out the heavens like a curtain. And I want to point out, these psalms that they're referring to here are very mystical. Like any of these verses that they're talking about here are extremely mystical, and it would benefit anybody to go and look up these whole passages and kind of get a feel for them. So Rabbi Morai asked, where is the Garden of Eden? He replied, it is on earth. Rabbi Yishmael expounded to Rabbi Akiva, what is the meaning of the verse in Genesis 1:1? In the beginning God created, et, the heaven, and et, the earth. Why is the word et added in both places? So et is Aleph Tav, right? The word et, an untranslated preposition that connects a transitive verb to its predicate noun. So basically it's a direct object marker, I think is the general layman's way of putting it. So the word et, if the word et were absent, we would think that heaven and earth were God's. For we could have read the verse, in the beginning God, the heaven and the earth created, taking all 3 nouns as subjects of the sentence. But he replied, by the divine service, you may have reached out for the true meaning, but you have not sorted out, and therefore you speak in this manner. But in the case of heaven, the word et comes to include the sun, moon, stars, and constellations, while in the case of earth, it comes to add trees, plants, and the Garden of Eden. They said to him, it is written in Lamentations 2:1, it says, he threw the beauty of Israel from heaven to the earth. From here we see that it fell. He replied, if you have read, you did not review. And if you reviewed, you did not go over it a 3rd time. What does this resemble? A king had a beautiful crown on his head and a beautiful cloak on his shoulders. When he heard evil tidings, he cast the crown from his head and the cloak from his shoulders. They asked him, why is the letter het open? And why is its vowel point a small patach? He said, because all directions, ruach ot, are closed, except for the north, which is open for good and for evil. They said, how can you say that it is for good? Is it not written in Ezekiel 1:4, and behold, a stormy wind coming from the north, a great cloud and burning fire. Fire is nothing other than fierce anger, as it is written in Leviticus 10 verse 2. It says, and fire went out from before God, and it consumed them and killed them. He said, there is no difficulty. One case is speaking of when Israel does the will of God, while the other is speaking of when they do not do his will. When Israel does not do his will, then the fire comes close to destroy and punish. But when they do God's will, then the attribute of mercy encompasses and surrounds it, as it is written in Micah 7:18. It says, he lifts up sin and passes over rebellion. What is this like? A king wanted to punish and whip his slaves. One of his governors stood up and asked the reason for this punishment. When the king described the offense, the governor said, your slaves never did such a thing. I will be their bondsman until you investigate it more thoroughly. In the meantime, the king's anger was calmed. His students asked, why is the letter Dalet thick on its side? He replied, because the segol, which is in the small patach. So this is a picture of a Dalet, and this segol is this vowel here. So whenever the scribe is making it, it's kind of widened at this part on this long section here. And this is another vowel, right? So that's what he's referring to there. The patach. So it is written in Psalm 24 verse 7. It says, the openings, pithe, of the world. There he placed a patach above and a segol below. For this reason, that it is thick. For this reason, that it is thick. So he's associating the vowel patach with an opening. poteach et yidecha, right? Who opens his hand, and right? And the sagol is this widening down here, okay? So what is the patach? It is an opening. Sorry, what is patach? It is an opening, petach. What is the meaning of an opening? This is the direction of north, which is open to all the world. It is the gate from which good and evil emerge. And what is good? He mocked them and said, did I not tell you that it is a small patach, a small opening? They said, we have forgotten. Teach us again. He reviewed it and said, what is this like? A king had a throne. Sometimes he carried it on his arm and sometimes on his head. Tefillin, right? And they asked why. And he replied, because it is beautiful and it is a pity to sit on it. And they asked, where did he place it on his head? He replied, in the open mem. It is thus written in Psalms 85 verse 12. It says, truth sprouts from the earth and righteousness looks down from heaven. So he was just making references to the tefillin that go on your arm and your forehead. So Rabbi Morai sat and expounded. What is the meaning of the verse, Psalm 87 verse 2? It says, God loves the gates of Zion more than all the dwellings of Yaakov. The gates of Zion are the openings of the world. The gate is nothing other than an opening. We thus say, open for us the gates of mercy. God said, I love the gates of Zion when they are open. Why? Because they are on the side of evil. But when Israel does good before God and are worthy that good be opened for them, then God loves them more than all the dwellings of Yaakov. The dwellings of Yaakov are all peace, as it is written. In Genesis 25, verse 27, it says, Jacob was a simple man dwelling in tents. This is like two men, one who is inclined to do evil and does good, and the other who is inclined to do good and does evil. What is more praiseworthy? The one who is inclined to do evil and does good, for he may do good again. It is therefore written in Psalm 87 verse 2, it says, God loves, so I should say that it says, one who is inclined to do evil and does good, for he may do good again. So one mitzvah leads to another mitzvah. This is Perkei Avot. It is therefore written in Psalm 87 verse 2, it says, God loves the gates of Zion more than all the dwellings of Jacob. These dwellings are all peace. As it is written in Genesis 25, 27, it says, Jacob was a simple man dwelling in tents. His students asked, what is Cholam? He replied, it is the soul, and its name is Cholam. Do I have a paper here to demonstrate this? I know I did. Give me a second. Okay, they're talking about another vowel. So this is Cholam. Okay? So it's the vav, you have that dot at the top. So that's the cholam. So this is a vowel marker. Okay. He replied, it is the soul, and its name is cholam. If you listen to it, your body will be vigorous, chalam, in the ultimate future. But if you rebel against it, there will be sickness, choleh, on your head, and diseases, cholim, on its head. They also said, every dream, chalom, is in the cholam. Every white precious stone is in the cholam. It is thus written with regard to the high priest's breastplate, Exodus 28:19. It says in the third row, a white stone, ach lama. So it has the same shoresh, the same Hebrew root as the word cholam. So he said to them, come and hear the fine points regarding the vowel points found in the Torah of Moses. He sat and expounded, chirek hates evildoers and punishes them. Its side includes jealousy, hatred, and competition. So this is right here. So that's the so a lot of times it's like found under a consonant. Okay. He sat and expounded, chirek hates evildoers and punishes them. Its side includes jealousy, hatred, and competition. It is thus written in Psalms 37, verse 12. It says, he gnashes, chorek, his teeth at them. Do not read chorek, gnashes, but rochek, repels. Repel, rachek. These traits from yourself and repel yourself from evil. God will then certainly attach itself to you. Chirek, do not read chirik, but kerach, ice. Whatever the chirek touches becomes ice. It is thus written in Exodus 34, verse 7, and cleanses. What is the indication that chirek has the connotation of burning? This is because it is fire that burns all fire. It is thus written in 1 Kings 18:38, and God's fire fell, and it consumed and burnt the burnt offering, the wood, the stones, the dust, and evaporated the water that was in the trough. He said, what is the meaning of the verse, and all the people saw the voices? Exodus 20, verse 15. And these are the voices regarding which King David spoke. It is thus written in Psalms 29, verse 3, the voice of God is upon the waters, and the God of glory thunders. This is the first voice. The second voice is Psalms 29, verse 4. The voice of God comes in strength. Regarding this, it is written in Isaiah 10:13, by the strength of my hand I have done it. It is likewise written in Isaiah 48, verse 13, also my hand is found in the earth. A third voice is Psalms 29, verse 4. The voice of God is in majesty. It is also written in Psalm 111, verse 3, splendor and majesty are his works. His righteousness stands forever. The fourth voice is Psalms 29, verse 5, and God's voice breaks the cedars. This is the bough that breaks the cypress in cedar trees. The fifth voice is Psalm 29, verse 7. God's voice draws out flames of fire. This is what makes peace between water and fire. It draws out the water of the fire and prevents it from evaporating the water. It also prevents the water from extinguishing it. The sixth voice is Psalms 29, verse 8. God's voice shakes the desert. It is thus written in Psalms 18, verse 51. He does kindness to his Messiah, to David and to his descendants until eternity, more than when Israel was in the desert. The seventh voice is Psalms 29, verse 9. God's voice makes hinds to calf, strips the forest bare, and in his temple all say kavod. It is thus written in Song of Songs 2:7, I bind you with an oath, O daughters of Jerusalem, with the host, or with the hinds of the field. This teaches us that the Torah was given with 7 voices. In each of them, the Master of the universe revealed himself to them, and they saw him. It is thus written, and all the people saw the voices. One verse states, 2 Samuel 22, verse 10, it says, he bent the heavens and came down with gloom under his feet. Another verse says, Exodus 19, verse 20, and God came down to Mount Sinai to the top of the mountain. Still another verse, however, Exodus 20, verse 22 says, from heaven I spoke to you. How is this reconciled? His great fire, quote, great fire, was on earth, and this was one voice. The other voices were in heaven. It is thus written in Deuteronomy 4:36, from the heavens he let you hear his voice, that he might instruct you. And on the earth he showed you his great fire, and his words you heard from the fire. Which fire was it? It was the, quote, great fire that was on the earth. From where did the speech emanate? From this fire, as it is written in his words you heard from the fire. What is the meaning of the verse? Deuteronomy 4:12. You saw no form, only a voice. This was explained when Moses said to Israel, Deuteronomy 4:15, you did not see an entire image. You saw an image, but not an entire image. What is this like? A king stands before his servants wrapped in a white robe. Even though he is far away, they can still hear his voice. This is true even though they cannot see his throat when he speaks. In a similar manner, they say an image, but not an entire image. It is therefore written, you saw no form, only a voice. It is also written in Deuteronomy 4:12, a voice of words you heard. One verse, Exodus 20:15, states, and all the people saw the voices. Another verse, however, Deuteronomy 4:12, states, the voice of words you heard. How can the two be reconciled? At first, they saw the voices. What did they see? The 7 voices mentioned by David in Psalm 29. But in the end, they heard the word that emanated from them all. But we have learned that there were 10. Our sages taught that they were all said with a single word, but we have said that they were 7. They were 7 voices. Regarding 3 of them, it is written in Deuteronomy 4:12, the voice of words you heard, but you saw no form, only a voice. This teaches us that they were all said with a single word. This is so that Israel should not make a mistake and say others helped him. It might have been one of the angels, but his voice alone could not be so powerful. It was for this reason that he came back and included them in a single word. Another explanation, it was so that the world should not say that since there were 10 sayings for 10 kings, it might be that he could not speak for them all through one. He therefore said in Exodus 20, verse 2, I am the Lord your God, which included all 10. What are the 10 kings? They are the 7 voices and the 3 sayings, the Amarim. What are the sayings? They are the ones included in the verse Deuteronomy 26:18. It says, God has said for you today. What are the 3? 2 are mentioned in the verse Proverbs 4:7. It says, the beginning of wisdom, acquire wisdom. With all your acquisition, acquire understanding. It is thus written in Job 32 verse 8. It says, the soul of Shaddai gives them understanding. The soul of Shaddai is what gives them understanding. What is the 3rd one? As the old man said to the child, what is hidden from you, do not seek. What is concealed from you, do not probe. Where you have authority, seek to understand, but you have nothing to do with mysteries. So I'm going to stop there. This is that was Siman 49, so the next would be 50.